Okay, I'm Judy Adams, and I'm here with Jim Goodwine in his office on Main Street in Palestine, Illinois. It's April 8th, 2014. I want to thank you, Jim, for agreeing to this interview. The purpose of the I Am Palestine interviews is to gather personal histories of the people who have lived in Palestine most of their lives and have helped shape it. What is your full name, Jim?
It's James Moreland, M-O-R-E-L-A-N-D, Goodwine. That's my mother's maiden name.
Oh, okay. And what were your parents' names?
James E. and Harry M. Goodwine.
Did you have any siblings?
No.
Where were your parents from?
They both were from Potomac, Illinois, and Vermilion County.
And where were you born?
I was born in Albany at the hospital.
Well, you can tell me what year if you want to, but you don't have to.
August the 4th, 1934.
Okay. So, what was it like growing up?
Well, I had a good life. Being the only child, I was doted on by my parents. We had varied experiences. Of course, when I was born, it was during the Depression or right after the Depression. And there were times when things were pretty meager, but at any rate, we did a lot of, Dad and I did a lot of fishing and hunting, and we had Dad and two other guys had a camp down on the river, and we spent a lot of time down there. And Mother wasn't in favor of that type of environment, but nevertheless, I enjoyed it. And it was kind of expanded your experiences in life to have that. Then I helped through the years with Dad in the funeral business when I was going to school, and at that time we had an ambulance service, and as I got older I helped with that. Then I went to college after high school, went to the University of Illinois, and then came back and went in business with Dad, and I had a short stay in the Army. I was in the reserves, and I did that. Then I went to the embalming school in Indianapolis. So I came back in 1957, and from there on I've been in Palestine the rest of my life.
Okay. Did you have any teachers that impacted you, or maybe?
No, I think like everybody that went to school, high school in Palestine, Edna Kirk was the biggest influence in most students' lives. She kept you on the straight and narrow, and she was a terrific teacher. You didn't realize it at the time, but now you do.
Okay. Did you have any memorable moments from school that you would like to share with us?
Oh, it was, we had experiences in athletics, and there were, like everybody, we did things probably we shouldn't have done a lot of times, but we had a good, what they do today is different than what we did back then. What we thought was out of the ordinary was very ordinary now, and what they're doing we think is out of the ordinary.
It was really a good time to grow up, wasn't it?
It really was. Yeah, we were talking, we've got a group that meets here every Saturday morning, and we were talking this last week about we may change that in time, but with the way things are looking, I think that we probably lived in the best generation possibly could have, because it was just a different lifestyle, and it's one of those things where each generation lived a little better than the generation before, and it may not happen in the future.
Yes, things are much different now. I know that you've had varied experiences in forming the history of Palestine, so...
Yeah, I've been involved in a lot of different organizations and had a lot of good experiences, and we've had some failures, but it's been good for the town that, everything that I've tried to do has been for the good of the community. And we're involved right now in 2 or 3 projects. We've got this Palestine Development Association, which I'm kind of proud of. We started that several years ago, and it's expanded. And we bought the Art Center building, donated that to the community, and it's been an active organization. And we're in the process now of trying to get control of the old Farmer State Bank building, which is Regions Bank now. And if we're able to do that, we'll have it so it's available for rental and for use in the community. We're in the process of trying to get a group together to build a new food pantry for Palestine. We've got the property pretty well committed to us out on Porter Street, which will be good to get that out of that floodplain where it is now. And they're doing a terrific job out there. They've got a lot of volunteers, and they're serving over 900 people in the county every week. So it's a good project. So that's some of the interest I have right now, trying to get some of those things done.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, I remember you were on the local Farmer State Bank Board of Directors as well.
Right. We went through all the alphabet soups, really. We went to Farmer State Bank, and then Nam Bank, First National Bank in Robinson, and then Regions. So there was quite a diversity of boards that we served on. We were finally, after a certain point, we were no longer needed. So they dropped our board. We still maintain contact with the bank, and you know yourself, and you're involved, that we continue to meet in the bank building even after we were dismissed from the bank. So, and that's carried on now. A lot of those same people are meeting here on Saturday morning.
Well, it was a group that helped form Palestine, and actually Farmer State Bank of Palestine was one of the best banks around. We were always considered a blue ribbon bank, and since I worked there for 40 years, I'll have to brag on it a little bit.
Well, it is a situation that makes you sick to see what some of the standards of banking are today. It's getting too political as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they're dictating to make loans to people that aren't qualified to get a loan, and it's really hurting the economy. And I think, you know, what we were trained to do, we were penalized if we made loans to people that weren't qualified, and now they're making it a positive thing and promoting it on TV and every place else, that all these people are getting loans and building houses and buying houses that they should never own to start with.
Yes, it's a different world, and change is obviously the name of the game in any kind of business. And technology has played a big part in that as well.
You're right. It's amazing that we talked earlier about the iPhones and all the other things that they have now. It just seems like that there's a tremendous amount of time wasted, as far as I'm concerned, on those things, and they could be doing something more productive. But kids today, every one of them has an iPhone and spend hours and hours a day on them. And some of them don't even get outdoors to get fresh air. They're inside working those phones.
Mm-hmm. You're right. So I'm sure you have a positive attitude towards the future of Palestine. What do you see for it?
Well, you know, hopefully we can have a group that will carry on and continue with this, trying to improve. In a small town, it's difficult to do that. And you've got to have a really dedicated group of people to get these programs going and follow through and raise the money and make the public aware of the need for donations, because the government's not funding a lot of these projects. We've got a real problem right now with the school system. We're fortunate to have the people we have that are in charge of the schools. I think they really have the good of the community at heart, but it's obvious that the government's not going to provide any more funding for some of these things. They keep coming up with programs and don't provide the funding for it. And they're cutting funding, and I'm afraid that ultimately we're going to end up losing a school in Palestine, and that's not going to be good for the community.
Do you think it will just be the high school?
I think probably it'll start with that, and you don't know where it'll go from there. But I think the government is doing this with the idea that they are going to force consolidation. They're not saying that, but I think that's the ultimate, is that by politics and legislation, they're forcing consolidation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
all our money, it seems like, goes to Chicago for the school systems up there, and a limited amount comes south.
mm-hmm. What about the, I know there's been some work being done on the streetscape project. Do you know anything about that?
I haven't been too involved in that, but I think that anything like that can be a benefit to the community. There's a lot of controversy about it, and I've got some questions in my own mind of whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. The problem is that it started out, I thought it was an excellent project. I mean, the original design and everything was really superb, and then the government got involved and they cut out a lot of the things that they had in the initial stages that really depreciated the value of it as far as I was concerned. A lot of money's involved in it, and it's another one of those things that I look at everything from the standpoint is this necessary or is it not necessary when we're in the financial bind we're in? And I don't think it's a critical thing as far as the community is concerned. They've got a community right close to us right now. They got $1 million in a grant from the government to form a walking path. And I think if they have $1 million walking path, I think they could use that money for something else. Particularly right now, the schools could use some of this money that they're frittering away just to get politicians to get votes. I think that's pretty outspoken, but that's the way I feel.
Well, that's what we need, opinions like that. And Palestine's always been a good place to live. It's a nice, quiet town. You can go out and walk. You can ride your bicycles. And
I was amused the other day at a meeting, and the police chief was there, and he tried to get a grant for a new police car, and they came back and said that we weren't qualified because we didn't have enough crime. We get a few more people to do something, well, we may get a new police car.
So, you've lived in Palestine for a long time, and you've known a lot of people. Has there been any particular people from here that has helped mentor you or shaped your life?
A lot of people. I couldn't even start to mention names. I think that it'd be wrong to do that. I think that the whole community's been supportive, and we've been in business. Dad started in 1926, and the business has grown, and we've been just fortunate to be where we were when we were here. So, a lot of people have influenced my life through that question. I don't really think it's necessary to mention names.
So your business is actually expanded to, you have several locations now.
And we've got 4 locations, and we've got now my grandson is in business, my son's in business, and we're on our 5th generation. Dad and his dad started the business, like I say, in 26, and I came back here in 57, and then Doug came after he got out of school, and now Kurt is in business, so it's gratifying to see that.
It's old.
Been real fortunate in the standpoint of the family. All of them have done pretty well as far as they didn't get in trouble, and they were just anymore. If you have that kind of a situation, you can kind of think maybe things did go right.
Mm-hmm. So how many children did you have?
3. We got 2 boys and a girl, and Scott works in Marathon, and Doug's working in the funeral home, and then Deborah, the daughter, was a professional student. I told her she went to school and got a degree in special education, and she did that work over in the St. Louis area, and then decided that she was spending too much time on paperwork and not enough time with the kids. So she went back to college again and got a degree in physical therapy. And she worked down at Vincennes at the hospital and in the doctor's office. And then she got married and had a child. And as soon as she had a child, she came back to work for us. And all else fails, she comes back home. So I don't know what we'd do without her now in the business, because she's kind of the mainstay and the glue that keeps everything together.
Well, it's a family business, and it's nice that you can all work together like that.
It makes us feel good.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other comments or thoughts you'd like to share with us?
I don't know of anything other than the big problem right now is just getting volunteers to help on a lot of these projects. It seems like it's difficult to get people. You're on the hospital board, and you need to keep bringing more people into these different committees and these different projects. Palestine Development needs more people. We brought a couple more people in this week, but it's difficult to get people that want to devote time and not get paid for it. They all want, to get paid for what they do, and it doesn't happen that way in these small towns.
Mm-hmm. But I think the Chamber of Commerce is, from what I hear, has gotten some younger
a lot
people.
Of younger people in it, and that's good. They brought the rodeo back, which was almost dead, and now they're bringing it back, and that's good to see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a need for more people to volunteer, and they shouldn't wait for somebody to ask them. They should express an interest, and it's their community.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to die on the vine if that stops.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate your time, Jim.
Okay, glad to do it.
This is all made possible because of the Mary Heath grant that the library got, and we are digitizing this on the internet. And so if you ever get a chance, you can look it up on the Palestine website, Palestine Public Library site under I Am Palestine.
Really? Okay.
So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Okay.